All right, we are going to look at assignment 3.5 now. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just me having you go through all the possible adjustment layers just to see what they do, right? So playing with those adjustment layers, also practicing clipping, aka indenting, and also practicing adding grain to things. That's all. So what we're going to do, I've put a folder in Files for Students with a bunch of headshots of statues. You're going to use the geometric lasso tool to select, copy, paste a new top half layer of that statue. I'll show you what that looks like. Add an adjustment layer to only affect the bottom half, right? We'll do that by having it be below the new top half that we've just pasted in, and do some sort of obvious adjustment to it. Then we'll do another adjustment layer on the top half, right? That will only affect the top half, not the bottom half. And that one we will do via doing a clipping layer or clipping mask or whatever they're called, indenting it, make a big obvious adjustment there. And then over the top, you're going to add some grain, right? We do the grain with new layer from the layer menu, blending mode overlay, fill with overlay neutral color, and then add noise to it. So let's walk through that, and then in the end you'll save it as layered PSD, 3000 pixels on the long side, Adobe RGB 1998, and 8-bit. When you convert the color space, by the way, if that is something that you need to do, make sure you don't flatten your layers or you'll be sad because you'll get bad grade. All right, so let's go here. Here's some sample Garibaldi heads. I'm just going to open the first one. Again, these are also JPEGs, so how you open them, probably can't just double click on them. I'm going to drag it down to Photoshop. Again, if you bring it into Lightroom, you can open it in Photoshop that way. All right, here's my Garibaldi head guy. I'm going to grab the geometric lasso. That's it right there. Up there at the top of the stack. I'm going to do a thing. Geometric lasso basically just draws a straight line between the points that you click. So I click, move my mouse, not drag, but move my mouse, right? You'll see that straight line going. Click, now I have a line between those 2 points, right? Now I move my mouse again, right? Not drag, but move my mouse. New line, click, right? New line, click. And then I'm going to go up, around, and back to that first point, at which point you'll notice my cursor changes to this little thing with a closed circle indicating if you click now, you will be closing that loop, which I want to do. Bloop. Cool. So now it has selected everything along that jagged line. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say copy, Command C, and paste Command V. So that doesn't look like it did anything. That's because it pasted right in place that little cutout shape that we made, right? So that is the top half. And this is the bottom half. So name those guys, and now I'm going to start out, right? Go down here to the black and white cookie, and again, we are just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So I guess, does it matter which order you do them in? Gosh, I mean, it does, in that the first file should have the first 2 layers. Does it matter whether I do top of the first? Yes, okay. All right, so the top half is the first layer, bottom half is the second adjustment layer. For the next file, the top half is number 3, bottom half is number 4, next file 5, 6, you get the idea. So I selected the top half. I'm going to come up here to, or down here to my black and white cookie. That's going to be the first one because it's first file, top half. And that is solid color. which is an adjustment layer that is just a solid color. I'm going to go ahead and indent it so it only applies to the top half. Right, there we go, looking good. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom half and I'm going to go to the next adjustment layer, which is gradient fill. And find something. Well, all right, I don't want it to be totally opaque. Fine. So we'll do that. So the point is for you to be experimenting with these things. So, I don't know, figure it out, right? Like if I want to make a new gradient, what would that be? Figure out if there's a way that you can make it do something kind of fun, right? Can I get this gradient and, right, how do I change where these points are, right? How do I change what the opacity is, right? Go in and explore all of them. I'm not going to go through each one of them now because I don't want to, but you should go ahead and play around with them and see what kind of interesting things you can do. So now we have this one where the top half is a solid, right, color, and the bottom half is the gradient, right? The top half, we have it just being affected by that layer because we clipped it. Bottom half, we have it set to that gradient fill. So I'm going to go ahead and rename these. Goodness gracious. So top half, color fill red, bottom half, gradient transparent to purple. So those look great. Now the last thing that I want to do is add some grain to that, and even though I'm saying that out of my mouth, let's go ahead and confirm that that is part of the assignment because I don't see it here in the handout, maybe because I just did not print out that file. Yeah. Okay, so to make that grain, right, we want to go up to the very top, right? You want your grain on the very top so that it affects everything. And we go to layer, new layer, call it grain so you know what it is, mode, overlay, fill with overlay neutral color, and then filter, noise, add some noise, make sure it's monochrome, make sure it's Gaussian, zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm fine with it being a little bit more extreme and visible in this case. There you go. Now we have this clearly beautiful picture that speaks to me of the mysteries of life. So I will go ahead and if I'm going to turn this in, I will, what do we need to do? Layered PSD, 3000 pixels on the long side, Adobe RGB 1998, 8-bit. So let's make sure that we do that. So let's check our color profile, convert to profile, not assign, convert to profile. Currently it's sRGB, so let's go ahead and make it Adobe RGB 1998. Make sure you do not flatten it. Don't do it. Hit OK. I'm going to check image mode, make sure it is 8-bit. It is. And then last thing, it said to make it 3000 pixels on the long side. So this is taller than it is wide, so I'm going to hit resample so that I can change the number of pixels. 3000 pixels high. What do you know? It looks like it already is. That's suspicious. But hit OK. Maybe yours is also already 3000 pixels and then you won't have to do any resizing. But you do need to make sure that you check the size and that you do change the color space. All right, that looks fantastic. I would go ahead and save it, right, per whatever the assignment says, and then move on to the next file. And the next file, this was the first two, the next file is going to be pattern and brightness and contrast. One after that, levels and curves, exposure and vibrance, hue and saturation, and color balance, and on down the line. If you get to the end, and I think you probably will, I think there's 19. So if you get to your last file and you only have a top, just use the first one again for the bottom. So there you go. That is assignment 3.5. Enjoy yourself, and holler if you have any questions.